We'll get this full video back. So let me kind of do a quick demo so you guys know what you're looking at. Again, everybody's going to get this video. You're all going to have the same link. So you should be able to see me in that picture. I'm the red, orange, and yellow guy. So that means I'm the warmest thing in the picture. It's set to white, hot, black, cold. So literally what we're looking for are the black and blue areas to either take shape or move on their own. Obviously, I'm looking for big temperature drops as well, so anywhere between 15 to 20 degrees in drops are the things that I'm looking for. Does this capture something every single night? It does not. I get about 4 to 5 very solid pieces per year, so we won't catch it if we're not recording. This piece of hardware on here is a FLIR Pro 1. So if you know anything about thermal imaging, which most people don't, this is what firemen and mechanics use. Firemen use it to save people. This is the real deal. I didn't want some crazy phone app for this. However, the software for this sucks. So as far as recording, I will give the user starts and stops. We are recording now, so everybody has the tutorial of how to watch it. But to start, I'm going to stop it from time to time because I don't want to lose the footage. That's happened in previous tours, and I don't want to do that. It's been a while, but again, I still like the starts and stops. I'm going to point out that there's a blue dot that's bouncing around your screen. It's giving us the coldest point in the frame at that particular moment. It moves around all the time, so it's constantly looking for the coldest area. We also have a center crosshairs on there, so if Nate decides that he's going to try to find something, he can move the camera to try to put the crosshairs on what he wants to see what the temperature of it actually is. So you're going to hold this horizontal just like this all night long. The camera's going to stay on your left wire side. This is obviously your start and stop button, and it's already recording, so everybody has that tutorial. So we're going to be using 2 different cameras tonight. Both camera people, I'm going to ask you that you be very discreet with your cameras. People do not like to be filmed, nor do they like their cars to be filmed. So again, I told you we're going to empty spaces, which means cars may or probably will be parked in there, so we're not going to focus on vehicles. If I say let's act casual, you're simply going to drop your camera like you're holding a cell phone, and then the next person, you'll see this crazy contraption. It's a little harder to hide, but again, it's one of those pieces where nobody likes that thing pointed at their vehicle. So this next piece, quick demo with this guy. Let me get it fired up. Alright, so you guys should not be able to see me in that very small viewfinder right there. It should be pretty dark. Let's turn on some lights. So we're working with IR lighting. This is lighting you can't see with your own eyes. So the hope here is that we're going to capture something we wouldn't be able to capture with our own eyes. So again, this is a very interesting camera. This is probably my newest, this is my newest piece of equipment at the time. I've had it for about 5 to 6 months. I have some pieces on here, definitely some orbs, and other like anomalies that I can't explain. So again, the hope here is that we're going to capture something we wouldn't normally be able to see. You're probably going to have about an hour and a half of video from the thermal. This one captures throughout the night about 30 to 40 just because the files are so large. There's a lot of battery swaps, and it does like to act up, which means it will lock up on us. So James, this one's going to go to you, buddy. But you're going to have to let me know when it locks up. So you work on that at the first location. When I say act casual, you're going to drop it and point it at the ground. Not drop it literally. But yeah, you're going to point it at the ground. Right. Just be casual. Alright, so let's get these spirit boxes out, because that's what everybody's hugely interested in, right? So spirit boxes are a way for us to communicate with the dead. We're going to be using several different styles of spirit boxes tonight. This one in particular is going to sweep through the FM radio stations at a very quick rate. In your TV shows and YouTube videos, this is the white noise, and then Zach tells you the BS he thinks he heard, trying to convince you of the same thing. Yeah, we're going to be doing this in real time, but I have them slowed down on purpose. I'm going to be telling you a lot of history tonight. Between all of the history lessons that your teacher's going to teach you, along with a bunch of white noise, you're probably going to fall asleep. So I have it slowed down so that way the radio chatter comes through. I want the radio chatter to come through. I want you to hear the song lyrics, the DJs and the commercials. So if you hear those things and you can make out what they're saying, it's a 50-50 shot that I can tie it to the location of where we are, a person in history I'm talking about, or even something going on with one of us. So again, it happens every single night. This is my favorite piece because you're going to have an earbud in. So you're going to be the only one to hear it in real time. I'm going to write down what you hear in real time because you're going to tell me. But this one records. You're all going to get the recording back tomorrow morning. I will spot check it and give you 15 to 20 other markers that I find whether they're relevant to those 3 things or not. It helps you learn how to listen to this type of recording. Because again, it can be very draining on you. If it is relevant to the location, a person, or us, I will tell you why next to it, and then give you a backlink to verify the information based on the story. Does that make sense to everybody? It's not because I told you so, it's because Britannica.org said so. So again, these are reliable sources. So I will plug in the earbud for you. I do not want them back.
Okay.
Earwax is gross.
Okay.
You can keep your own earwax. So I do have 2 of these. So I'm going to hand out another one, but the next one is not going to record. So we're going to have to rely on that person in real time to be able to tell us what they're actually hearing. So it'll just add to the analysis of the data that I give back to you and type up. So you have one button to worry about. It's the wheel at the very top.
Okay.
You don't want to hit anything else, including the button next to it.
Okay.
You'll have to undo the twist tie from the earbuds. So it's all you. Most people just keep one in, so that way you can kind of go back and forth.
Sure.
As far as the volume, you're not going to mess with the recording of the volume. You can turn it up and down all night long. So if you want to mute it when I'm talking to get the history, you can do that. It's not going to ruin anything.
Okay.
You're going to get the next one. I'm good. So yours I'll set up the same way, but it's not going to record to whatever you tell me. That's where it's going to go in the analysis. The earbud thing works out way better. I just started doing this a few months ago, and it works out way better. You guys hear a whole hell of a lot better. Earbud is a lot easier.
Your forehead's 105 degrees.
Let's see. Where are we next? The next spirit box is a little different than the rest. This one is going to give us words in the center of the screen from time to time, kind of like an obulus of what you see on television, where it actually speaks the word and shows it on the screen for you. However, this is a phone app. It's going to give us words in the center of the screen from time to time, and then save them all into a list with timestamps. So the cool thing about that is, well, let me tell you the bad news about it. Last night they had 93 terms, only 4 of them were actually relevant. This is meant to be a game and a hoax. About 80% of this is going to be bullshit. I'm just going to put it out there. So again, the game we're playing with this is going to be, is it coming from the ghost, or is it coming from the app just generating a word? There are over 9,100 terms inside the database for this app. I've added a few, nothing too specific, but to help the ghost give us a little bit more specific answers, try to help us along. So again,
I have an app like that on my phone.
I love this thing. I've been using it for years. So this is the first thing that I go to, because this helps me define where do I need to look on the thermal imaging, if it says camera or heat or something along those lines. If it gives me something else specific, where do I need to listen on the spirit box to see if something else matches up for a full sentence. Like, you guys are going to see how I use this guy. So I don't want to see every word that pops up. I will come to you when I want to see the list and show you how to get to it. It's very easy. Just hit the little white box right here next to the words where it pops up, and you'll be able to scroll through it when they do come up. So I will come to you, that way we're not being interrupted when I'm trying to give history. Fair?
Okay. So I don't have to do anything unless it comes to you?
Exactly.
And this is already recorded?
You get to carry the bag.
All right, let's go.
You get the multi-purpose device, and you're going to see why here in just a moment. So we need some kind of EMF reader, right? So you guys have all seen the little blinky ones that are on television.
Yeah.
Those are very sensitive. That's why they use them on TV, because it's very exciting. Those go up to a reading of 25 milliamps. I know I'm talking science and nerdy stuff to you, but this guy goes up to 200. So it's way more accurate. So the big numbers that are on your screen, I want to know anything above 2.5. So
Okay.
2.5 is the second green dot on one of those little ones that they show you on TV. I do use one, but I will tell you, I normally give them to the little tykes when I have them on the tour, just because it keeps them occupied of staring at blinky lights. So there's a lot of history involved, as I'm sure I told you already. So anything above 2.5. The bottom number is ambient temperature. If Nate finds something on his camera, you and I can debunk it pretty quickly or prove it pretty quickly based on what the ambient temperature is from the yellow probe.
Okay.
The last thing that it has a REM pod built into it. So if anything gets close to the antenna that I just pulled out, it will go off. The closer it gets, the higher pitch you're going to get. There was a lot of colors in there. You and I will talk about those at our first location. But for now, I'm going to shut that off, so that way you only have to focus on the 2 big numbers on your screen. So again, I'll show you more at the first location. Fair?
Sure.
All right. I will have to manually record all the readings that she gets out of the thing, so that way it goes into your analysis. So I do keep a little notebook on me, so you guys will see me as a little nerdy writer guy, writing in the dark. That's what I do.
I do have one question. And,
Yes.
So the number on the bottom, what do I need to be looking for?
Nothing necessarily right away.
Okay.
We're waiting for Nate to say, I don't know what that is on my screen. I'll take a
Okay.
look at his screen. If it is some kind of anomaly, you and I will try to find where it is.
Okay.
So again, the bottom number,
Okay.
not a big concern at this point.
Okay.
It's the big one I need. All right. So, any other questions, comments, or concerns? Yes.
I'm just yelling out words that I hear randomly.
So, some people are really good at listening to that. Other people are not. So, if you're one of those really good people that can just pick up every little thing, hang on to what you got. Because again, I have a lot to cover with each location just based on the spirit boxes. So again, if you can hang on to it, and I'm going to follow up with each one of you guys as I kind of go to each space. So that way I can say, hey, what's going on with your device? What have you heard? What do you got going on there? You know, that kind of mentality. So you don't need to blurt anything into me. Unless, of course, it's an oh my God moment. I can't believe it just said that. So, what are we chuckling about on the word list?
It says prop.
And we can always tie in the other 80% to something that's going on. That gives us very vague terms. They might come up with the word blonde next. And who knows, James may have been blonde in a previous life.
No.
They're bold for a while.
I'm going to pick on the baldness. Well, first off, we're probably about the same age and I have a full head of hair. But he sent me an emoji earlier of his little emoji guy, and it was bald with a beard, and that's the way I knew who to look for.
Yeah.
So I was kind of like, all right, cool. So
That's the one.
it worked out really well. Because I called out his name, and he's like, how did you know? All right, so let's talk about why we started here. So I asked you all to meet me next to Big John's. Of course, it's haunted. That's why we're here. So it used to be owned by a football player. His name was Big John Kennedy. Not Kennedy like President Kennedy. It was Kennedy, like a can of beans. So anyway, he played for the 1947 New York Giants. This was his place. He used to sit in the back of the bar and tell the bartender if the cadets coming over from the Citadel, if they were old enough to drink or not. One night, two guys come in, and they're not old enough to drink. He has a bartender throw them out. They leave pretty pissed off. They come back the next night, and they try to steal the cash register from the front of the bar. John sees what's going on, gets up, and just starts beating the hell out of these guys, just pounding them right into the floor. A couple of gunshots go off, and John gets hit in the neck. The bullet lands in the ball, so it just grazed him. He gets up after being shot, goes back to the bar, and tells the bartender to get him another beer, get the two guys on the floor in ambulance. He's just beat the hell out of him. So the moral of the story is you don't mess with Big John and kick your ass. He's dead and gone. But anyway, the other moral of the story is what's haunting the place is the bullet hole. It's allegedly still here. This has just been renovated, so I'm not really sure if the bullet hole is still here. Even if it isn't, John's blood is still in this building. So people that sit in the front of this bar have a tendency to get queasy, nauseous, headache. That's kind of what goes on here. So, it's your heated warning. You're going to be dealing with paranormal activity tonight, fingers crossed. I don't know how it's going to affect any of you, so if anybody feels any of those symptoms, it's a big deal. I need you to tell me. Yes, ma'am.
So that's where we were before we came over here.
And?
We were down at another bar, and we came down here, and I could only finish about half of that drink that I had, and immediately thought that, I mean, it was tequila that I had, and I immediately thought, oh, I shouldn't be drinking. Coming over here, it's been fine.
Where were you when you had that drink?
We were right at the middle, at the bar.
Point proven?
He's in there.
So, if anybody feels any of those symptoms,
Wow.
throughout the night, again, I need to know immediately so we can move the whole group and get that person to safety. So some people are just a little bit more sensitive than others. I will tell you, our last story tonight, I kind of give you a story because it's relevant to the history of the building that happened on one of my tours. So I know it's late in the night when I tell it to you, but it definitely proves the point home. Let's not talk about our own health, shall we? Let's talk about something else. I just have to put that warning out there. Big earthquake here in 1886. If you didn't know that from any other Charleston history tour because we all talk about it, you do now. It's a big deal for us because this is the East Coast. We're not supposed to have earthquakes. So we all talk about 1886. This is apparently where the first death occurred. The white mantle in the middle of the building behind me also wraps around the front on the East Bay side. A piece of it allegedly broke off, hit somebody in the back of the head, and killed them. And they say you could see his ghost in the middle of East Bay Street in the middle of the night. Do I have any proof of that story? I do not. It's just a great segue so none of you are thinking about getting sick on the tour. So, and I just brought it back up again. Alright, so we're going to wait for this group to pass and then I will show you guys where we're heading next because we're going to head in the same direction. I'm going to show you more about that. Like, you're not recording right now anyway. So, yeah. So you should have 2 hours and 17 minutes.
Yes, sir.
That's kind of a timer, so that kind of helps me gauge how much the recording we're actually going to get. All right, so let's go past these horses. They're just lollygagging around.
That's crazy.
Alright, so welcome to level 1. More cars in here than normal, so we're going to kind of keep it nice and tight knit here, and we're not going to be here for very long anyways. Again, further your tutorial. Building behind me is where we keep, I call it the Big Red Barn, because that's the name of it. It's where we keep the horses for your carriage rides. So in the summertime, the smell of horses for you guys is horrible. I'm immune to it. I'm out here 7 nights a week.
You work here.
I know. Oh, really? Well, tell us stories. But
Well, I can't tell you anything. It's your
Okay.
job.
Well, I'm always looking for more. But anyway, this is where we used to hold horses that delivered milk and eggs to the residents of Charleston. So we're talking 1860s to 1920s. So that's all I have. So let's talk about your spirit boxes. Spirit boxes, this is not television. This is not, is somebody here? Like everybody wants to ask, right? Because that's usually everybody's first question. If somebody says no, that means somebody's here, right? So we're not going to be asking yes and no questions all night long. Paranormal proof does not come out of a yes or a no. Like, no, that's not what we're after. You guys want actual proof? We're going to get it for you. So, in the event, like we're going to walk through the rest of this a lot slowly once I'm done here, and you guys are going to be kind of either thinking or saying out loud questions you already know the answer to. Like, what color is the big red barn? Obvious answer, correct? It's going to be red. So we're going to be listening and looking for the color red. But I want to point out that song lyrics and DJs might not always have the color red in their vocabulary at that exact moment. So, fire truck, blood, heart, those things are specifically red. I would take that as an acceptable answer. What color is a big red barn? Blood. They found a word for you. However, most of the night I'm going to require 2 happenings from other devices to actually verify each other. So, what I mean by that, let's take, for example, I'm really going to get you to Leslie?
Yes.
Okay, got it. Perfect. So, Leslie, let's say you have the word art that shows up on your word list, and Chelsea, here's the number 40 on her spirit box. Art Faircloth was number 40 on Big John's team. Do you see how that kind of verifies everything? A lot of the stories we're going to be going through tonight are from the 17 and 1800s. These dudes and ladies all had the same damn name. Charles's and Elias's and George's. Like, we need to know who the hell we're talking to. So I always look for that secondary clue, and a lot of what we capture in the field, in the real time, is going to be about like, it's that starter point. So if you hear the name George, I'm like, that's great, but which one? Or like, why George? Is it coincidental? I don't normally believe in coincidences, but I need that secondary clue to prove to you like it's an actual paranormal piece. So again, it might be George and something about George comes up on another spirit box. Or you had a super high spike when George came up. So again, I need something to kind of verify that. That's kind of like how the spirit boxes are going to go all night long. Certain places I'll give you questions that you can ask, so that way you know how to get specific answers that are non-yes or no questions. But let's talk about cameras for a moment. So Nate, thermal imaging can be very tricky.
Right.
So you're going to try to do 2 things. We are going to be the warmest thing out here. You're going to try to keep a person in view at all times, even at a distance.
Okay.
So anybody goes above 99 degrees, I need to know so I can send them out of here. They got a fever and a temperature.
Right.
So you're going to be the man to tell us.
Okay.
But you're going to try to keep a person in because that gives us an array of color on the screen. So that's going to be a lot easier to find those cold spots. We want the heat in the videos. And again, it's kind of a cooler night. I'm not going to say chilly, but it is cool.
Yeah.
The other thing you're going to try to do is keep the sky out of view.
Okay.
The reason why is because that blue dot, it's looking for surfaces to measure. So if you have the sky in view, it defaults to the sky because there's no surface.
Right.
And it's going to be the coldest thing for it. Some of these spaces, it's going to be impossible to do that. Do your best.
Okay.
So that's the only thing I'm going to ask. I'm rarely going to follow up with you other than, let's go ahead and stop the video. Because again, a lot of this stuff, I send it to YouTube. That way you guys can watch it on your TV, your tablets, your phones, whatever you want to watch it on. If I find something, obviously you're going to get the still to see the temperature differences, and I'll put all of that in your data. Your camera, for instance. So let's get into this. You actually have a lot going on with this guy. So I don't know if you noticed or not, but there are 2 different lights working for you. You have a short range, which is right here, and then you have it's lined up with the lens, and then you have a long range. We're going to keep the long range on all night long. Reason why is because if somebody gets too close, you see how my hand bleached out? You can turn this guy off, and this guy's still working for you.
Okay.
So again, your discretion. This is Velcroed on. It's not coming off. I'm going to point one thing out. The bottom switch, just be careful. It does give us night vision.
Okay.
I don't bring on night vision. You guys are going to find I don't get in the way of the other tours. So again, night vision just draws attention because they can see that light. Let's use the invisible light so they don't know what the hell we're doing. So again, I like to just stay out of their way. Again, just going to be cautious of cars and vehicles when we're in spaces like this. We don't go in between cars. Just imagine if your car was in here and some dude came up with a crazy thermal imaging camera. If I was a car thief, that would be the first tool I would have, by the way. Just because I know how long every car's been there by its heat signature.
All right.
And I've been watching thermal imaging videos for 3 years now.
yeah.
So fun times. As far as your REM pod, so let me show you how to use that. Pull up the antenna. There you go. All the way out. Perfect. Now flip the device around. You'll find a little like finger hole where you can lift a little flap up to go up this way. Oh, nope, it's a little further down. Right there.
Yep.
It's going to flip up this way.
Oh, flip up. Okay.
So there's two little white buttons back there. The one closer to the edge is the one you want to turn on the REM pod. So you click it into place. Okay, perfect. Now flip the device around slowly. Now what's going to happen? You're touching the antenna.
Not
There you
slow
go.
enough. Okay.
So what you just did was you created an EMF field around the antenna. So if something interrupts it, it's going to make some kind of light. The closer it gets, the different colors you're going to get in the middle. You're going to notice, I'm going to flash them all. Notice the blue and the purple in the middle?
Okay.
I like to kind of use that as a kind of a call and answer. So, if somebody's here, make this go to blue. If you get a direct answer, it shows that they didn't have to touch it to make it go red. They gave you the color you requested. So I love using it that way. This thing is also going to go off as you're walking. I normally give this device to females because you walk more gracefully than men. So with that, it's going to go off. There's a way to reset it. If you're right-handed, which you already have it in your right hand, there are 4 buttons along the side here. The very bottom one will reset the field. So click the button. See how it shut it off? So every time it goes off, you want to click it just to make sure it's not from your movements. This device is actually designed to be set up on a table and not held. So that way you can expand the EMF, and if something happens, it happens. When we're walking like this, we have to constantly reset it to make sure it's not us that's making it go off. Again, I don't like false positives, and nobody else does either.
Sure.
So I'm at that point, if it is going off, you stop, reset it, and if it goes back to the same color you just had, obviously we have something going.
Okay.
Everybody have a great gist on their devices?
Yeah.
Has anybody heard anything while we've been standing here?
Heard
A lot of nothing? Okay.
Yeah, I thought when you were talking about touching that, I thought I heard somebody come over and said, "We're dead." Oh.
I'm not writing that one down.
No.
All right, I say we go deep, like dive deeper than football players and horses. Is that fair?
Yeah.
And if you have any stories from here, you're going to tell me later. Again, obviously, I want to give you guys more history than you.
I should probably be in the back and see if anything pops up next to you. You should be in the front.
Okay, it just went up to 1.7.
It's like 2.5.
It's been at 0 the whole time.
You just went 1.5.
All right.
Okay.
So, obviously, lots of vehicles in here, so we're going to be very, very careful. Let's dive into what this place is, because it's another beautiful spot at Charleston, right? You guys came here to see parking lots. So, this space used to be the Charles and Eliza Pinckney Mansion. So their mansion actually sat in the front of this lot, facing broad. We're going to talk a little bit about architecture throughout the night. Not a whole lot, like I'm not going to bore you to death with it, but that is very important. Eliza's garden was lined up with Five Church Restaurant and came all the way across, and we are standing in the servant and slave quarters for the home. So let's get into it. Spirit boxes, I'm not going to be giving you questions like what color is George Washington's white horse, like what we did over there with the red barn. You're going to get the answers from your spirit boxes. I'm going to withhold information on purpose so you have a genuine experience. So, who the heck were Eliza and Charles? They had a son named Charles, they had a nephew named Charles. That's 3 Charleses. Do you guys see why I look for secondary clues now? Okay, the son and the nephew were signers of the Constitution for South Carolina. Nobody cares about politics for South Carolina because you guys were on vacation. Maybe the locals, maybe they didn't know that, but obviously the nephew and the son were raised here. So I bring that up on purpose. But let's break into something else. Politics are boring. So, Eliza married Charles at a young age, according to today's standards, not the colonial times that she came from. So you can ask her how old she was when she got married when we break apart. I bring this up because Charles was over double her age. So kind of keep that in mind when you're listening for numbers and digits. So she married Charles because her father over in England thought he was dying. He wanted to see all of his kids one last time. She didn't think he was dying. Plus she didn't want to get on a boat and make that trek for nothing. So she got married. This is 1744. There's no such thing as citizenship or green cards. She married Charles out of love, and even after he died, remember he's over double her age, she did remain a widow. So this is a true love story. This was her best friend. So, regardless, Dad didn't die right away. She was right. So she got married, she's good, she's happy. Dad starts sending her apologetic gifts from England to this space. One of those gifts happened to be the plant indigo. You guys have been in Charleston? Probably a bit longer than an hour or so. You okay? Bless you. So, we can interrupt for bless yous. Always. But anyway, so indigo is a plant that makes blue dye that makes our blue jeans blue. Most of you have it on, actually all of you have it on tonight but me.
Yeah.
So that's how we still use it today. However, this is Charleston. It's not always hot and warm. You can't always grow things the proper way. So she had to learn from her fellow slaves on how to keep it going. Keep in mind, indigo was already here. She just capitalized on it. So once she had it figured out, she moved it to Mount Pleasant. That would be the Slee Farm area in case you were interested. But she calls her dad and says, rice plantations are going downhill. We can make a killing with this indigo. Now we have an international businesswoman in colonial times. That's Eliza's business. Let's get into the weird stuff, because that's why you guys are all here, all right? Eliza was the second wife named Eliza from Charles. Back to back, like 6 months apart. First wife Eliza died, 6 months later he's married again to another Eliza. Very smart or very stupid, depending on how you want to look at it. So, ironically, they both have a maiden name that starts with the letter L. Find out which Eliza you're dealing with by asking her her maiden name. You can ask what happened to the mansion. It's obviously not here anymore. And then you can ask when that happened. So, obviously, I just gave you a clue. It's some kind of tragedy. So, as far as your spirit boxes go, hopefully you get some answers that'll give you that. The children, tread lightly, please. There's more than one. I gave you one. His name was Charles. You can ask what their names are and how many she had. Pretty much leave it alone after that. There's a tragedy among those children that I will tell you about before we leave this space, but don't ask her about it. All activity will stop. So, Lindsay, have you gotten any readings at all since we walked in here?
It's just going to about 3 or 4, but when we were walking, sorry, 3 or 4. When we were walking across the street, it was at about 1.5.
So you're going to get that from some of the electrical lines, the poles, and definitely parking meters. So it will range anywhere between 1 to 3 when we're going over certain sidewalks. And I will always give you a heads up ahead of time. So my apologies for not giving you that ahead of time. You don't seem like you're, oh my God, there's a ghost here. But again.
Well, that's what I said to him when we were walking. I was like, oh, because I was walking slow.
Yeah.
So.
All right. So yeah, please tread lightly with the children. Last but not least, ask anything you want to about her death. How old were you when you died? Where are you buried? Where did you die from? What president was a pallbearer at your funeral? It doesn't look like I have to explain what a pallbearer is to this group. That's really nice, by the way. And there's a couple of things where I'm like, I have to explain it a little bit further here and find it funny later on. But anyway, you can ask all of those questions. She's pretty open to it. These are common questions that I get the answers to. If you go rogue and you want to ask your own questions, make sure it's something we can prove. Meaning anything about the slaves and servants, I got nothing. There's no documents, there's no anything. There's a few names here and there and some letters that she wrote, but nothing specific enough for me to say, oh my God, we had this person here. Can't do it. Yes and no questions, obviously I think you get the hints on that. We're going to start your video, so that button is right here.
Okay.
So that it'll start flashing at the top, and you'll see your timer start to go. So again, we're going to be very discreet with cameras in this location. We are going to spread out, and we're going to kind of see what's going on. But I do want to see your word list, so everybody else, we can spread out, start listening. Let me know what you capture. I'll be bouncing around with all of you.
Okay.
Leslie, stay behind. Let me see what you got. Just hit this. Yep. Got it. You were at 25.
Oh, it just went to 2.6.
I didn't see anything.
It's a stretch.
Is your fingers close to it?
No, 9.6.
9?
Yeah,
But right now, it's kind of vague. So unless John's name shows up on a
8.2.
but left is definitely showed up here quite a bit. So I want to see if the person that that word attaches to shows up somewhere, either on your list or there's somebody else's list. So again, right now we only have the one term that I'm excited about.
You're close to the power line too. Are you?
Well, 8.2 was high.
And it stopped?
4.2.
It's pretty high right now. Is it too close?
What do you got?
It went up to 8.6.
Okay, it's good.
3.4 it was just a second ago. 4.8.
I forgot to rip out last night's sheets.
Mhm.
I don't need to confuse myself for your analysis. You had 8.6 and 3.4.
And 4.6.
Okay, so at this
But
point,
2.5.
so just tell me anything above that 8.6. We have a good gauge going. I want to keep it progressing. So just let me know what you get after 8.6. Definitely have to move around a bit.
Okay.
This is a little touchy just because we're close to the parking meters. Anybody walks through this lot, you're just going to drop it.
Yeah.
Sorry. People,
No.
they like to scream at me. It's like, come
What
on,
are you
man.
doing?
2.1.
So,
Am I close to a parking meter?
no, he said anything above 8.9 is what he's going to look for now.
I remember I said.
Well, that's pretty high.
Nothing cold around you.
I had a 9.7.
Right there?
3.9.
Nothing.
It's the power line.
Nothing cold around
Do you
you.
see?
You got something?
It was a 9.7
Okay.
and then a 3.9, 3.3.
Watch the vehicles. All right, everybody watch the car. Let them in.
Whenever I've said that, have you ever seen anything that
No.
would stop?
It's that car. It's gonna-
Sometimes it has you have to move slow. Like
I know,
the
but I have to
camera.
keep a heat source in.
Right, but like if I say that, maybe like it
I
just
focus right on you, but
like it just focuses like around to see.
No.
Like it has to be really slow.
Look. You have to hold it on the heat, and then it shows a cold in that little blue dot. The coldest spot in the area. The little blue
Right,
dot
but
is the
like-
coldest one.
So if like you're watching somebody, but it has to, you have to move slower than that. When you see, like
Really.
it has to. Okay, I'm just telling you, when you're whipping it around, it's not like video.
It's
where
just
you're
thermal
gonna-
imaging, yes. It picks up heat.
Right, but you have to go slow to see.
Anything that's around the heat, you have to keep. Because if I go over here, it's going to go red because it doesn't see anybody.
Babe, you're not understanding. Like if somebody's giving something, and so where they are, you just focus on right around them, like not moving
I
so
did.
fast.
I've been slow this whole time. You'll see the video.
Okay, well, what you're doing
You'll
right
see
now
the video.
is not slow.
That car right there is 82 degrees.
Right, but if I'm getting signs right here, then it like my head, my toe, my back, my arm, like that's what you slow down and you focus with, like really, really slow.
That's not how this works.
That's how it works. Whatever. You do.
Not to mention she designed it. Brought all you guys here. Okay, you doing all right?
Yeah. I don't have to go super slow with it, right? Or,
The slower the better, but
but I mean, it's still as long as I got somebody in the
yeah.
view, you know, it'll
Mhm.
show me the coldest spots around them.
But yeah, this is like I was just telling James. This is not always a in the moment capture. You're basically just cameraman. It is
Yeah.
fun to watch.
Yeah.
I normally give this to a gentleman just because it's high tech.
Yeah.
You know, and we're nerds like that. Like
Yeah.
we love this kind of stuff.
Oh yeah.
And they're handy around the house. So if your dryer blows up or is leaking or
Right,
whatever,
you can find
yep,
find it.
I've used it before.
What's up, other camera guy?
What's up, man? Let me see yours. What are you looking at? Okay.
It's like a night vision kind of thing.
Oh, okay.
See, I told you, the guys geek out on the cameras. Any other crazy readings about that 8 or 9? Alright, what is going on?
99.
Alright, let's group everybody back up again. So Leslie, actually before we meet Leslie, how about that? Let's all head back this way. Come on, Taryn, we're going to group back up. You guys get the answers. I'm not going to leave everybody hanging.
Push the button.
Yeah, you can stop your video. Nate, same on yours. That way you guys can.
My turn to come. Are we far away?
Hang out in the back.
Yeah. See if I can pops out.
Electric stuff here.
You getting anything?
I had a 5.6.
Where at?
Well, I kept walking past. It was like right here.
Well, you do have that big giant electric box. That's going to get
There we go.
Alright, so.
I love this. We'll call you back. Bye, bye.
Can I turn my button back on or no?
We're going to keep it down for just a moment.
Okay.
Just because, again, I don't normally get a whole lot of EMF here, which doesn't always cause for motion. However, the camera's running will kind of detect, because usually things are off in the corners if we capture anything here. But the names, did you hear anything on yours? So let's kind of get into where we are and why we're here. So when we crossed that last crosswalk, that's where the original Charlestown walls used to be. Charleston used to be called Charlestown. So it was the walled city. We are standing on one of the first streets that we ever had. So these bricks were actually laid down in 1735. We're going to talk about them in a minute. But the reason why I asked for names is because people used to live here. The two giant buildings you're seeing that we're walking between weren't here. Little tiny shotgun houses. I don't think I can explain what those are either. Nice group. I love this. But anyway, I have the full list of residents of every person that's ever lived down here. Your video is not recorded, by the way.
I think it might have frozen again. It wasn't me.
Did it? Alright, I can fix it while I'm talking.
Yeah, it froze again.
So, the names I commonly get when I'm down here are Benjamin and John. Here's where things get funky. I get them every 6 to 7 weeks. Same names, same night. Benjamin and John. Here's my theory.
Guess what? Benjamin just called me.
Get the hell out of
That's
here.
where Ben.
On your phone?
Yeah. That's why I was answering the phone.
Can't make this shit up, guys. I can't.
He hasn't called you in
I know.
forever.
In like 8 years.
Hasn't
6
called
years.
You
you.
said it's been years since you've heard from him?
6
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
About 6 years.
Since we moved to Florida.
Yeah.
That was 6 years ago.
Okay, we're recording.
Wow.
I know, right? Just can't make this stuff up.
It's on low battery and it died.
So now I'm going to have to get you a whole battery. Still do that one time. So, Benjamin and John, let's get on them for a second. Like, that's a crazy anomaly.
Yeah.
This is me, like, floored. Like, what the hell just happened?
Yeah.
Wow.
So, Benjamin and John both lived here in 1801. I get those same names every 6 to 7 weeks. We're on, like, week 3, so that's weird even still. Like, I keep track of the loops, so that way I know when to try to kind of expect them. But here's my theory on what's going on with that. The bricks you're standing on are called Belgian blocks. They're made straight from granite. You guys all seem like you're pretty into paranormal terms, so you've probably heard the term limestone before, right? So limestone comes straight from the earth, and so is granite. So the theory is that anything that comes straight from the earth and stays in the same place for so long can actually stir things up or hang on to the consciousness and memories. Hey, how you doing? Good. Sorry. No, you're good. You're good. You got to work too, man. But basically, you're standing on granite that's been here for almost 300 years. So how many memories are stored into these things? So again, every 6 to 7 weeks, the same names pop up. I can't explain that. Now, do I have anything significant about Benjamin and John or the year 1801? Nope. Nothing. It's like I'm watching a 6 to 7 week long movie, and I'm just catching the tail end of it where they say their names. That's it. That's all I got. Every once in a while, in that same night, a third name will pop up, and that name is Jane. That's when I see the people live here. I'm not talking like dozens of people. Like it wasn't mine. I'm talking like 4 to 5 people at a time. That was it. So when I have 3 out of 5 names from the same year in the same loop, that's not coincidental at all. So here's where it gets even weirder. Are you ready for this? Chelsea's like, I'm ready. I want you. So before people lived here, this is where the Freemasons had their Masonic lodge, hence the name Lodge Alley. So you are standing where the Freemasons actually used to hold their meetings. So the terms I get around that, obviously, Freemason, Mason, bricks, I get that quite often, and the term Illuminati has shown up for me 4 or 5 times last year alone. So you can also take that for what it's worth. So do I chuckle every time I hear Illuminati? Yes, because this is the only space where I ever get it. And who the hell is talking about the Illuminati on the radio? And that's where it's coming from. So I didn't put that term into the word list. So again, it's one of those pieces that I didn't mess with. It just shows up. So again, I'm going through your recording. I'm also listening for the word Illuminati in that same loop. So it's just like it's hanging onto those memories. Now, here's where we're going to talk a little bit about architecture because they did do an archaeological dig here. That's where I got all of the list of names in that report. Underneath these bricks, they did find pieces of their silverware, their tools, their clothing, classified as people as lower class. Makes sense. The other side of East Bay Street is where the other side of the wall would have been, which means those buildings across that we could see outside the alley would have been there. The smell of low tide would have been coming through here quite often. The rich aren't going to live down here. So let's talk about the Battery for a minute. Have you noticed that the houses around town are skinny in the front and long back? There's a couple of reasons for that I should point out. First off, you were taxed based on how much street size you took. So the skinnier your house, the less taxes. The Pinky Mansion we just left, I told you, was broad against the street. They're outside the city walls, and they have money. They don't give a damn. That was bragging rights. Look at our beautiful home. Like, that's kind of the reason why. Back to the houses on the Battery, they had the piazzas on the main floor with the doors in the front. That's to help keep the smell of low tide out. And they open up their top second-story window, so that way the cool air from the water comes in and air conditions the house. So that's why those houses are angled in such a certain way when you're walking along the Battery. So again, that tax thing is the main reason, but they also found another way to kind of help the house down. They didn't have air conditioning back then. So that's this space. I do tell you all of that little bit of stuff just to kind of stall and get some footage and obviously some recordings while we're here. So what's going to happen from here is we're going to go to the next alley. However, I can't take you down it like what we're doing now. I've been winded out. You guys remember, you guys joined the annoying group with the gizmos and gadgets and blinkies and all that stuff. It is residential at the end of the alley, so it's not fair to you guys while other tours of 20 or more are trying to go down there and we're trying to weasel around trying to find EMFs and listen into the spirit box activity. I still tell the story because we get just enough evidence on the outside of the alley. The other tours can go in. We're going to get some footage. You know, you'll see how I position us. And I'll tell you why I've been booted out of there, a specific story, because it is relevant to another later on story even further. Things get weird and uncanny, just like Benjamin calling you.
Yeah.
So again, this is stuff I can't explain. And I don't always have all the answers. That's why we do this, so I can gather more information to kind of decipher it. As we exit the alley, the cameras will stop. We're going to obviously hit the stop button because we're going to be cutting through a neighborhood. I'm literally taking you right on the edge of where we're allowed to go. Just because this is an odd space that the other tours don't go to, just because they want to talk about the breaks and move on. So we're actually listening for things. Do you have anything popping up on your list? Carter. I would definitely take that as a name. I'll have to see if it's on the list. I don't have it memorized, but it's not lengthy. It sounds like something that could be related to it for sure. So we'll kind of see what pops up.
All
All right. Questions, comments, or concerns about residual ghosts and why we all stop to ask questions all the time? Because it's not always, it's about patience. It's always about patience. So, all right, let's go see if we can capture out of the next space. I'll let you guys know when they have those names.
Okay.
You're a very absorbent group. I'm just going to point that out.
Taking it all in.
Take it all in.
It has stayed between 2.5 and 3 the whole time.
We're going to go into some myths and legends around Charleston based on whatever you guys are telling me is coming out of the spirit boxes, because the next space has like 15 stories on it. I let the activity direct us where to go. So if you don't tell me anything, I just go to my normal go-to stories that we can actually prove. And then we're going to deep dive into a female pirate after that. That'll be our last stop. The female pirate story, if you're into pirates, this is a whopper. Like, it is a crazy-ass story. However, that particular ghost, that when we're looking for it, is a hit or miss. That particular ghost is said to be seen all over town, so we're taking a chance that she's going to be there at the same time we are.
Okay.
So,
Bring them to me.
it's like she wants us to go now.
Yeah.
I know, right?
I
But that,
feel like it's like a religious channel that it
you're going to get a lot.
Yeah.
I get a lot from the religious channels.
Okay, because I was just, yeah, that's what it sounds like.
You're in the Bible Belt. You're gonna.
Okay.
We have a lot of evangelical stations.
Okay.
So, believe it or not, they actually give us some really good evidence, because it's not stuff you would typically hear on the radio. So, you're not gonna hear like, "Buy it now, you need a Kia," and stuff like that. So, that's basically the stuff that I rule out, because that's common everyday terms. So, we're not looking for that. We're looking for very basic terms. So, the alley behind me. This is Philadelphia Alley. It used to be known as Duelers Alley. So this is where all the duels used to occur in the city of Charleston. So that's a fun noise. Got it. So we all talk about one specific duel because we can actually prove that it occurred. And of course, there's a lot of key terms in this story. I don't know if you guys noticed tonight, but damn it, you keep breaking my stuff now.
I'm just touching it. That's all I'm doing.
It's only 18 seconds. We're good.
Like it just froze.
Now, as far as the stories that I've been telling you all night long, as far as the spirit boxes, I don't know if you noticed, but I actually slow down on key terms, and I say them on purpose so that way they kind of stick in your head a little bit differently. You have to remember, I'm the master storyteller, not you. So, am I bragging? A little bit, I think. Man, you guys are a fun group. I normally don't really joke around this much. Like, I take this very seriously. You guys read the reviews. Like, that guy's passionate. He does his stuff. Like, you guys got me joking around trying to see if you're still awake. So, anyway, so the duel. Let's get into that. So there was a doctor that moved down here from Rhode Island. His name is Joseph Brown Ladd. He moves down here because his fiancée Amanda just inherited a bunch of money from her dead parents. She has an attorney helping her out with that money. The attorney thinks the doctor's just after her cash. He tells her to get rid of the doctor. So, to prove that he's not just after her cash, he comes to Charleston. As he's coming into town, the coachman that brought him in set him up to be robbed and killed. So it wasn't a very good start to his stay in Charleston. So, somebody walking by with the name of Ralph Isaacs, and I stopped on his name because Ralph has the same initials as where the doctor came from. Remember, we're not just storytelling out here, we're ghost hunting. Initials and letters mean something. So when RI shows up here, it's either Rhode Island or Ralph Isaacs. I need a secondary clue so I know who the hell it belongs to. So, Ralph says, dude, you don't want to stay here. This guy's going to try to kill you. He's got a gunman inside and they're going to take all your cash. I got some friends at 59 Church Street. You can rent a room from them, 2 ladies, and you'll be safe and good to go. So he takes him up on the offer, and Ralph and the doctor become friends. The doctor's practice takes off, which means he's making his own money. Amanda's moving down soon. He becomes known as the Whistling Doctor. Every haunted city you will ever visit has a whistler. Ours just happens to be a doctor. So, him and Ralph are friends, and they go see plays together. But the doctor makes more money than Ralph, so the doctor gets better seats, which means they can't discuss the play during the time that it's going on. So they talk about it on the way home. And one night they go see William III. They start arguing over the new actress that was here. The doctor thought she was great. Ralph, not so much. It gets pretty ugly when Ralph starts insulting the doctor's fiance, Amanda, back home in Rhode Island. They go their separate ways. Ralph is from here. He has friends at the newspaper. I don't have to explain what a newspaper is. This is great. You guys have no idea. So, he puts an ad in the paper telling the whole city of Charleston what he thinks of the doctor. And the doctor sees the ad, kind of a jerk move, and he rebuttals with, "We're going to go to Dueler's Alley and settle this." So they come down and they take their 20 paces. They turn. The doctor points his gun in the air and he shoots. His one shot. He did not want to kill his friend. He just wanted to show up for the fight and show he had the courage to do it, but he was also willing to forgive. But Ralph, he has his one shot, puts it in a kneecap, sorry James, on the doctor. So the doctor doesn't die, but Ralph proved his point as well, that he's still pissed. The doctor's friends pick him up, they carry him home to 59 Church Street, where he dies 10 days later after refusing medical treatment. You have to remember, he's a doctor. He probably tried to heal himself by bleeding it out. So, they say as you walk through this alley, you can actually hear the whistles from the doctor. I invite you to walk down there on your own with your voice recorders, but keep in mind, all of us locals know the story. Anybody walking up and down Cumberland Street or Queen Street on the other side is going to throw a whistle down the alley. I do it every single night on my way home from meeting with you guys. My garage is right there. We end right there. So again, I throw a whistle every night. When my daughter's on the tour, we actually race to Philadelphia Alley to see who's going to throw the whistle first. So it's a fun little game we have. They also say you can hear gunshots. I don't have any proof of that, but I do have whistles from when I used to go down there with my groups from the recordings, and it's very faint and in the background. If you're not from here, like we have some locals, this is the most picturesque place that we have in town. Like, I know Rainbow Row and, you know, White Point Garden, those are all beautiful, but to me, like, lighting is a big deal. Obviously, look down there. It is gorgeous, day or night, and it is always quiet. So, always turn on your voice recorders. Here's why I got kicked out. Here's the fun part. So, this alley didn't always come all the way through to Cumberland Street, where we're standing. The bricks on the other side are older, because obviously these bricks on the end were placed after it was expanded. Now, those bricks on the other side were sun-dried bricks from slave children. We do have a full handprint and fingerprint swipes in those bricks at the other end, close to Queen Street. It is outside a gentleman's dining room window. My groups, even though I still forewarn them, you have to pass by quickly. Everybody wants to put a spirit box or an EMF meter or something near it, and again, I tell them over and over again, it's like treating it like a grave. That kid's not staring at that brick in the afterlife. You're not going to get anything. It's just a part of history that I like to show off, to show how far we've come. I got caught one night. That night was November 26th, 2020. And Nate's looking at me like, this dude remembers the damn date. The reason I remember that is because it was the day before Thanksgiving. I had a full group, 10 people. My daughter's on the tour. She was 14 at the time. She thought it was great because the new neighbor came out screaming. I technically wasn't supposed to be there. It is residential. I was out of my range, and I was new to the tourism business. So I played stupid. He screamed some more, and we moved on. I haven't been back since. Now, I had to reroute the tour very quickly because the morning of November 28th, I got a phone call from the tourism office. So I was like, damn it, I got to go up there and talk about pirates now. I'm a vampire guy. Pirates are not my thing. So I'm like, I'm going to wing it. I got a full group for November 28th. It's Black Friday. So I take them up there and I tell them, I'm winging it, guys. We're going to see what we get. Somebody hears the number 300 on a spirit box. I'm like, I have no idea what that means. So then somebody says, I heard the name Ann. All right, cool. So I'm writing all this stuff down, and lo and behold, I go home the next day and research it. We were there on November 28th, 2020. Anne Bonny's trial was November 28th, 1720. We were there on the exact 300-year anniversary of her trial. So it was almost like a bring them to me kind of mentality, or like Benjamin called as soon as I can't explain this stuff. It's like karma telling me I had to learn about pirates. You have no idea how many books I've read about this woman that I'm going to tell you about here in a little while. It is crazy, the amount of misinformation that is out there about her. So anything that you've heard or anything that we have on the word list pop up since we've been here?
Just the name Kendall.
Kendall?
Kendall.
Anything on the spirit boxes? Okay. We can stop our videos. You can take a little break because we're going to do some myths and legends. Let you guys explore.
Show them how to do it.
think it's broken.
Reset.
I don't
There you
know
go.
what it
Yep.
says.
Button on the bottom, on the right side.
Oh, there you go. Look, you listened more than I did.
Did you get that figured out?
I think so.
I heard it going off. Did you get it figured out?
I did, yeah. It wouldn't stop, and then it just did on its own. He was like, reset.
That's funny.
Yes, sir.
Go to the front. That just got here. That just got here.
Are you sure we're walking in the right direction?
Because we passed that before. Remember the guillotine? There's Meeting Street right up here, Chris. Hang on, maybe. This is the same street you walked up and down.
Hey, babe. Hey, babe.
I know. I want it so bad.
Uh-oh, you have COVID. Just kidding.
I want one so bad. I think I want to get one really
Let's kind of give you guys the extra bonuses here. That way you guys can kind of see everything. Nate, did you get anything crazy?
No.
Because your camera likes to act up in here. If something's really going on, it gives us like white lines through it. Devices will stop working, so just didn't know.
Nope.
First off, this was what Philadelphia Alley looked like in the 1900s. So it kind of gives you not a super old snapshot. I mean, obviously we figured out that Joseph was 1764. So again, early 1900s there. I'm sorry, you were looking at a blank screen.
No, it was on.
She's like, wow, look at that. I can see me in there.
Great
That's
picture.
Good job.
So this is Anne Bonny. It's one of the few pictures I could find of her with a shirt on. Reason why is because she used to bare her breast to the men that she killed to show that they were just killed by a woman.
Oh, wow.
Like I told you, this chick was hardcore.
Yeah.
So the name of her parents, the father was William Cormack, and the mother was Mary Brennan. You guys weren't expecting another Mary, so again, nobody came up with either of those names, so just kind of take that for what it's worth. This is Calico Jack. He was called Calico Jack, by the way, because of the jackets that he wore. They were from the men that he killed. He was a very dapper, young, filthy pirate. So, that is Calico Jack. The name of his ship was called the Kingston. Do I expect Kingston to show up on a spirit box? I do not. I expect the word king is a good enough clue for me, which we've had several times. I would say probably 5 or 6, in the past year and a half that I've been coming here. So again, this has been a very interesting night.
Battery just died, so it
It
Oh
died.
my god.
Oh my gosh.
Normally it's still about half
yeah, it just,
by the time we end here. How long have we been together? It's about 2 hours.
well, you put a new battery in it.
You
I
already put in
did
your
too.
battery in there.
Twice.
Well, I expect
It
one to
was
die.
pretty full when I was over there. Came here, sat down, and then
Something drained it.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
So again, I don't normally when I get it home, I still have enough battery life. There's about half of it left. I always gauge that stuff. But yeah, there's been nights I've had to change that thing 4 times, and that's why I carry 5 batteries because I ordered more. Just so that this stuff wouldn't happen. I am excited here. You heard something. What did you hear? That I was like, oh, what is that? Oh, you heard Joe.
Joe.
So Joe, we're still close enough to Philadelphia Alley where things about Joseph Brown Ladd will come up here. So I'll be looking for things to tie it together. So that's kind of an intro for what I'm going to be looking for. How many terms did you actually get tonight? It'll be at the very bottom. It'll say 82. 82. So that's about the average. I usually get about 70 to 90. Anything over that, I'm like, oh, that's actually a good night. But again, most of your stuff, we're going to probably call it 85 to 90% was BS. So we'll kind of see what comes out of it. With a fresh set of eyes in the morning, it's much easier to see how things might link together. So we'll kind of take a look at that. Again, my hope here is that you guys had a blast. I know this was an odd night for me. I'm normally not this giggly. I'm really not. I take this honestly like, oh, this is going to be good stuff.
Yeah.
But you guys were a fun group because I feel like I didn't have to babysit. You guys were all like nodding your heads like, yes, I know how that works already. So that was really cool. I didn't have to explain what Kodak was, so that was really cool. But again, I don't think we had a skeptic. I feel like you've all had some kind of experience, and you guys all wanted to everybody wants to tell me a story. But I hear stories from all over the country. If you have a story that you want me to know about either you or an experience you've had, send it to me so that way, because I keep everything on file. What happens with that is because if I do travel, if I'm passing through Kentucky and you're from Kentucky, I pull up the Kentucky list to see what's going on. So that way I tell the wife, pull over.
Yeah.
We're going to Lexington.
Yeah.
So
Right.
that's kind of like how we roll.
Right.
So my own investigations, you guys can cut your video by the way.
Okay.
My own investigations are going to be in the podcast.